which were made rich by her. This is from Revelation 18 verse 15, and I'll read the verse. What I did was I went to Revelation. Well, I'll show you in a second, a minute, the information that I put together, which means this chapter, the merchants of these things. Merchants means seller. Let me go to that. Emporos. One on a journey, whether by sea or by land, especially for trade, a merchant or seller, as opposed to a retailer or petty tradesman. Let me read that again. Let you listen to the word in the Greek.
Strong's G 1713. Emparos. Emparos.
Emparos. Now that word goes back to emperor. Emperor means what's the word? Emperor means like chief. You know, king, royal, emperor. That's where you get the word emperor, and it means commander. Which is a dictator. A dictator. Anyway, it says one on a journey, whether by sea or by land, mainly by sea, because world trade is done by sea. Now, if you've been keeping up with the news, and you should be, there's a tanker. I think the name of the tanker is Ever Given, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, you can look it up, but it's stuck. It's stuck at a certain point in the Suez Canal. And let me just pull up a map, a world map. Bear with me for a minute. You can see the chart on the screen there, and I'm going to go into that in a minute. Anyway, that's not giving me much. Anyway, let me go back to the script here. Let me bring this back. Okay, I gotta bring back okay, so you got I went to Revelation 18 chapter, and I put in find for the word rich. The word rich is in Revelation 18 verse 3, Revelation 18 verse 15, Revelation 18 verse 17, Revelation 18 verse 19. So we're talking 4 times, right? So let me go back to the 15 verse again. It said the merchants, which is a seller on an international, global level. We read the definition in the Greek. The merchants of these things which were made rich by her. The her is Babylon the Great, which is America. Now the key nation that I'm focusing on that has really become rich would be China. It says the merchants of these things which were made rich by her, America, Babylon, shall stand afar off for the fear of her torment, weeping and wailing. The torment is when the World War III ensues, Armageddon, biblically Armageddon. That's the destruction of this system and the birth of the Most High Yahweh B'Shem Al-Shai's kingdom and the Israelites, because we're going to be joint heirs. We're going to be part of the rulership of that kingdom, a major part. We will be ruling over the nations. But this has to happen first. You got the mark of the beast, which we're experiencing right now. You got to keep your eyes open with this, the whole vaccination thing. You know, we're right in that time. We're right in the time. Oh, another thing. The chariots, the UFOs, as you call them, the chariots of Israel, they're showing themselves more and more. So that's another sign. Let me read this again, 15th verse again. The merchants of these things which were made rich, the key nation that we're dealing with is China. China has produced millionaires and billionaires. If you go to a chart and you put in the top nations that produce billionaires in the last year, 2 years or whatever, China's number one. China's number one. And why? Because of her, which were made rich by her. They export to America, and they became rich. Shall stand afar off for the fear of her torment, weeping and wailing. And that fear of her torment is World War III, the War of Armageddon, if you will. The Lord coming back, Jacob's trouble, because it's going to happen in the midst of Jacob's trouble. So let me go to the 3rd verse. Keep looking at the chart. 3rd verse, Revelation 18, verse 3. For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. Not talking about religion. It's not talking about accepting the image of Caesar Borgia. It's talking about the political system. That's why all these nations have, well, give you a perfect example. UN General Assembly, that's what, 2 weeks, 3 weeks into September. Every year, you got all these different nations, major nations around the world coming over there and coming over to the UN in New York. And every last one of them are representatives or prime ministers or presidents. And how do they become presidents or prime ministers? Through the democratic system. So that's the fornication. It's not no picture, no Caesar Borgia. It says, and the kings of the earth have committed. Now they're being called kings, but kings just means leader. You know, a president is also a king. You know, a governor is also a king. He's a leader. So that's just one of the words, you know. King just means leader. That's all. Whether you got a crown on your head or not. It says, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication, which is Esau's political system, democracy, which didn't come out of Europe. It came out of the U.S. because the European nations in the past, they had kings. So even these European nations committed fornication with her. The her is Babylon the Great. It's not the Vatican City. And the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. Okay, now let's jump down past the 15th verse to the 17th verse. For in 1 hour, you know what I got to do? Let me read 15, 16, and 17. The merchants of these things which were made rich by her shall stand afar off for the fear of her torment, that's the destruction, weeping and wailing. 16th verse, and saying, alas, alas, that great city, which is Babylon the Great, America, that was clothed in fine linen and purple and scarlet and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls. For in 1 hour so great riches is come to naught, and every shipmaster and all the company in ships. The situation in the Suez Canal, they're saying that it represents, the ships that come through that canal represents 12% of the economy, because you know economies are run by you have money, you need a TV, you go to a retailer, you buy the TV, or you buy whatever, you buy a couple other things. Well, most of these things, a lot of these things, like TVs and electronics and computers, come out of China. So this is like a stab in the back, for lack of a better way of saying it, to the world economy. So one of the ways it's going to be affected is by higher prices. It says, for 17 verse again, for in 1 hour is so great riches is come to naught, and every shipmaster and all the company in ships and sailors, mainly merchant marines. A marine is a military officer, but he deals in merchants. He deals in ships, exports, things being exported and imported. China does more exporting than importing. The U.S. does more importing than exporting. And there's also a chart on that. It says, and as many as trade by sea stood far off and cried when they saw the smoke of her burning. Now, when the World Trade Centers were destroyed, you can see the smoke for miles, and everything stopped. Breaking news around the whole planet Earth, because you got 1,000+ news channels all over the planet. Everything stopped, and all eyes were focused on downtown Manhattan. Well, when this place is destroyed, all these news companies around the world, breaking news around the world, will be talking about this destruction. And the first thing the Chinese, for example, is going to think about is, oh, we ain't going to make no more money. You know, our money's going to get cut. Because that's why they're weeping and mourning, because they ain't making no money. 18th verse, and cried with when they saw the smoke of her burning, saying, what city is like unto this great city? Which those stimulus checks are sent out to prop up the economy in the hopes that when people get the stimulus checks and they say, well, you know what, I'm going to turn it into silver or gold, I'm just going to put it in the bank and sit on it. It's not going to work. It's not going to stimulate the nation. That money is to stimulate the nation, meaning for people to go out and buy and to like a country's blood is money. So if your blood doesn't flow, you could catch a stroke, a heart attack, and die. Or the same thing with money. If money's not flowing, if transactions are not being made internationally, then it kills a nation. So, you know, Babylon is on life support. So they're trying to pump blood into her oxygen, whatever they do, but in the case of money. See, when you get into these prophecies, and we hear Great Millstone are known for going into prophecies because the major prophecies are coming to pass. We watch things on the news and we filter them through the scriptures. Anyway, it says here in the 19th verse, and they cast dust on their heads, which they're not going to actually do. That was an ancient thing that people did when they mourn. It doesn't mean people are just going to start, where's the dust at so I can put it? No, it just means mourning. Remember this book is written in a poetic manner, in a symbolic manner, and cried, weeping and wailing, saying, alas, alas, that great city wherein were made rich, or we were made rich, all that had ships in the sea by reason of her costliness. That's why they're giving out the stimulus checks, so you can buy products that are made primarily in China. So if U.S. citizens or Americans say we don't like China and we're not going to buy anything that says made in China, that's going to kill China's economy. See, China is dependent upon the U.S., European nations, other nations around the world. It says all that had ships in the sea by reason of her costliness, for in 1 hour is she made desolate. Then it says in the 20th verse, rejoice over her, thou heaven, and ye holy apostles and prophets, for the Most High have avenged you on her. So that's going to be the day that's going to be oh happy day, as the song says. So now you've been looking at this chart. Been looking at this chart, and I'm not going to read too much. I'm going to just kind of, and if I remember, I'll leave it in the description box. Anyway, it says China's top trading partners. Now I'm going to jump down. Okay, it says the United States. This is what 3 paragraphs down. It says at 20.49 trillion dollars, which is the gross domestic GDP, gross domestic product, which the debt is higher than gross domestic product, which is almost 30 trillion. That's not a good place to be. So they have to create money out of thin air, which kills the dollar, which causes inflation. Now they're trying, which the economy is based upon fiat currency. China's largest trading partner. Last year, the total value of bilateral trade between the two countries was $737.1 billion. With U.S. imports meaning China exports things to America, which imports that ship that's in the Suez Canal. If you look at pictures of that ship, that's stacked with cargo, whatever you call it, cargo bins or whatever the hell you call it. And that represents billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars of products. You got the flat screens, you got the computers, you got the Nikes, you got the Air Jordans, you got all these different things. It says with U.S. imports from China valued at 558, almost $560 billion, and U.S. exports to China is 179.3 billion. So there's more exports going from China to the U.S. than U.S. exports going to China. It's about, the ratio is about, you can do the math in your head. We're talking, I don't know, 70%, 65, 70%. So 65, 70% of imports that America receives come from China. And America's only exporting about 30%, 25, 30%. Now, at one time, the great exporter on the planet was America. Anyway, so you're looking at this chart here, right? It says U.S.-China trade balance in billions. It says goods only, nominal terms. Goods meaning your computers, your Jordans, your clothing, whatever. So this chart right here, it shows you these red lines, and this is from 1986. You don't see any red line. 87, you don't see a line. 88, you see a little, almost like a dot of red. So we go all the way up to 2018. It says U.S.-China trade balance in billions. This is what, 400 billion in trade in 2018. It says the top goods exported from China to the U.S. and their total value for 2018 were electrical machinery, $152 billion. So China made $152 billion off of Americans. Machinery, $117 billion. Furniture and bedding, you know, when you go to Bed Bath and Beyond, everything in there is made in China. It says 35 billion. Toys and sports equipment, or even your MAGA hats. Your MAGA hats are made in China. Your American flags are made in China. Products that Donald Trump sold in America, they were all made in China. It's a toys and sports equipment, 27 billion, and plastics, 19 billion. It said the top goods imported from U.S. to China, and their total value for 2018 were aircraft, which aircraft, which are your planes, your fighter jets, and I guarantee you the exports that come from America are mostly weapons. And those weapons are going to be used to destroy Babylon. It said machinery, 14 billion, compared to machinery, 117 billion from China. Electrical machinery, 152 billion. Electrical machinery, only 13 billion. Compared to China's electrical machinery, 152 billion. Optical and medical instruments, almost 10 billion. Vehicles, 9.4 billion. And agriculture products, not even 10 billion. The U.S. the U.S. exported an estimated 58 billion in services to China and imported 18 billion in services from the Asian nation in 2018. Anyway, that's all I'm going to say. You can read the rest of this article and see, this is how you deal with prophecy. What you do is you see something that's taking place and you filter it through the scriptures. In this case, in the part of the scriptures that are prophetic. So this can't go on too much longer. You know, would this man be taken out in this year? Will this place be taken out in the beginning of 2022? It's that close, and you have to be that serious. If you believe that you're a prophet, you better be on fire. You better be on fire. Ain't no time to take breaks. Most I ain't dealing with you if you're taking a break. If you're lukewarm, he shall spew you out of his mouth. Anyway, with that, I'm going to say shalom.